Hi, we're here from the Montcalm Center for Behavioral Health. We're talking to you today about stigma with mental health and a little bit about our job as peers. It's really important for you to understand that you really can make a difference.
Hi, I'm Mary, and I'm a certified peer support specialist here at Montcalm Behavioral Health. I always knew that I had an issue with depression. However, I didn't consider that a mental illness. It took a breakdown on the island where I couldn't even leave my small room to call to a crisis center. And the social worker literally came out to my room and talked to me. And that was the beginning of realizing that my depression was ruling my life and that I needed to do something to change that. I also have a traumatic brain injury, which mimics depression, so it was really hard to separate those symptoms. So what I did for the next year was educate myself. I read anything and everything I could about different types of mental illness. I also got on the appropriate medication. I took my meds. That was very important for me to stay on my medication because I think for me, it was easy to convince myself that I'm feeling better, everything's okay, and then not take them. The other thing I know that worked was the sunshine on Maui and walking the beach. That was so good for my spirit. But what boils down the whole story is that I don't take for granted what actually happened. I think that the ticket that night, all of that was in the plan for me to travel to the island, to go back. None of that was a mistake or a coincidence. I think that that was meant to be so that I could realize what was going on in my life, and I was being taken care of by a higher power, or whatever you want to call it. Today, I moved back to Greenville, or to Greenville, um, and back to the dark in the winter. I was here last winter for that horrible winter, and I felt the symptoms coming on again. And all I could think of was, where am I going to work in Greenville, Michigan? I was used to working out in the community, doing a lot of social work jobs, and then a friend of mine, actually a therapist friend of mine, suggested working here at the agency at Montcalm Behavioral Health. And I applied for the position for peer support, no idea what it meant. I read the job description, came in for an interview, and here I am today. It is the most rewarding job, I think. I love my job. The best part about it is I work with people that are just like me. And it makes me very emotional because who else could have gone through the suffering I went through and the changes I've been through that's turned into a positive of helping others and truly understanding what someone with any type of mental illness goes through. I am just amazed at my job. I'm amazed at the agency. I am treated no different than someone with a PhD or a BMG. So I hope that people educate themselves and things are changing. I don't think the public no longer sees mental illness as Jack Nicholson, one flew over the cuckoo's nest. I think that we've come a long way from the state hospitals closing, and I think that people like the peer support specialists are making that difference because we're out in the public and showing that here we are, we're just like you. So thanks.
We have a fact or myth here for you. If I have had a good childhood and or have a strong character, I will never have a mental illness. Do we think that's a fact or a myth? That's a myth. The truth of the matter is that mental illnesses are a product of biological, psychological, and or social factors. Research has shown genetic and biological factors are associated with many mental illnesses. Events that can happen to anyone, such as loss of a loved one or a job, can also contribute to various disorders. Anyone can get a mental illness, regardless of age, intelligence, race, gender, or upbringing. And at least 1 in 5 people will have a mental illness at some point in their lifetime. If it's not you, it's someone you know.
All right. My name is John. I work for the Montcalm Center for Baby Health in Stanton, Michigan. My story kind of begins kind of in a dicey area. Been through working with CMH over in Gratiot County, actually. I've advanced my recovery enough to become a certified peer support. I've been doing this now for almost 6 years, and the whole time I've been still maintaining my recovery, no relapses and things, and working as a peer has also helped me maintain my recovery. And recovery is one of the big things. Peer supports are strive to enhance consumer of mental health services recovery. That's our focus. It's the same as a lot of the same, such as case management and psychiatry, and all the people try to advance recovery. But being a peer support, it's different in that you're working with someone and you have a similar background of going through the same struggles and having the same maybe insight issues, and then learning to advance through gaining more insight. So sometimes it's, I would say, more user friendly for someone who's a consumer to hear it from someone who's been there and been successful and found a way to lead a normal life for the most part. Personally, since my recovery, I've maintained this job. Did some college, was a college student for a while. Kind of put that on hold. I've been married, bought a home, and have 2 children now. And through all this, have just continued to advance my personal recovery.
Have another factor myth for you. Mental illness is difficult to treat, and treatments are rarely helpful. Factor myth on that one. That is a myth. The truth of the matter is that most people with mental illnesses that do get treatment have improvement, and many recover completely. People with mental illness can live a fulfilling and productive life. Okay, if we look at recovery rates for mental illness, overall success rates for mental illness is between 70 and 90% with treatment. If we look at the graph, we can see depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, all have a much more success rate even than heart disease, a physical illness.
Using gentle kindness is helpful when you're trying to advocate for someone, and use an advocacy to help people fully use the CMH services that they go to, and promote them being self-advocates for themselves, reporting issues to their psychiatrists and their case managers and peer supports, and being comfortable and feel safe that they can report and be open and honest. And being open and honest can lead to advancing their recovery more than they sometimes realize. And also families of people that have any mental illnesses, having compassion and being an advocate for them versus just doing everything for them, or being a negative influence about their recovery. Maintaining recovery and helping them reach recovery, being a natural support can be a difference maker. And being a peer, similar to where a support, and probably as close to a natural support as anyone could be that's not a family or a friend of the person. Because by no means we're not a family or a friend. We are a type of clinician that it's our job to help people in this role, sometimes in that role, the boundaries of friendship can be confusing to both the peer and the consumer. But maintain the boundaries and keeping a code of ethics is one of the mainstays of being a peer. Being able to do that and not fall, that your focus is taken away from what the job actually is, and serving people with the service they need.
And one more fact or myth for you. People with mental illness have to be careful of who they tell, or risk being ridiculed, treated differently, or excluded. Do we think that's a fact or a myth? That one is a fact. The truth of the matter is that the fact that stigma still exists means that someone diagnosed with mental illness may be ridiculed or shunned if or when they tell their family and friends. And stigma can also affect getting and keeping jobs and getting housing, regardless of whether the mental illness is relevant or not.
I'm Denise, and I am a certified peer support specialist with the Montcalm Center. We work for what are called CMHs, which are community mental health. When I first started, I had no idea what it was. I was a consumer, and a consumer is someone who uses the services there. And so I was there with a therapist, a psychiatrist, and it was it was quite wonderful because it was a place that I felt very safe, and I felt that people were giving me hope. And when they interviewed me, they were very excited about my background, which I was not. I was kind of embarrassed, and I didn't know what I could offer them. And to me, it didn't seem like I had a whole lot to offer. To them, it was I had my life story. I had been suffering from depression and anxiety for most of my life. I just had very good coping skills, apparently, is what I was told. Everything in my life kind of brought me up to this point. I have a husband, 2 beautiful grown children. I really just coped with whatever life brought me. And I realized that peers were people who actually supported other people with like things. I could work with people who were schizophrenic or bipolar. The training was just invaluable. And the more that I learned, the more that I wanted to learn. One of the things that I love about the agency where I work at Montcalm Center is the training that goes on a daily basis. I meet in a huddle every day with clinicians who talk about integrated health. I love that they look at the whole person because as a statistic, people with mental illness die 25 years sooner than the average American, which is just really sad. I think the biggest part is that we give people hope, and we can make fun of it. We can actually make fun of ourselves. We love to be able to go to places and talk about this. Years ago, alcoholism was not talked about, and but now today people can say, I'm an alcoholic, my mom was an alcoholic, and we're in recovery. Well, it's the same thing with mental illness. We are people with mental illness, however, we are in recovery. We do live wonderful, positive lives, take baby steps. It's really a lifelong process just to go to where we want to be in our lives, and they just give us hope. And to me, that is the most wonderful thing for anybody, is to give them hope. But the very cool thing is just like the Yellow Ribbon program, working with suicide prevention, that's one of the things that we want people to understand is mental illness does not just affect people of a certain age or race or anything. We deal with children all the way on up to elderly. It could be hormones, it could be genetic, there could be a lot of reasons. We work on a program called Facts or Myths, and we really just like to get the word out to the schools about what is a fact and what is a myth, because until everybody knows the facts about mental illness, I don't think people are going to be talking about it. And so our thing is some of the most influential people are our students, and some of the brightest people in the new minds that we work with are our students, and that's why we really like to get out and talk to them. And I think through the students, through you guys, I think that we can just really go a long way in dispelling the myths about mental illness, and I think that we can really help a lot of people and have people feel more comfortable about opening up and coming forward and asking for help. And so that's one of the things that we want to do is if you have anybody that you know that you think would like to talk to somebody, please recommend them. We work at the Montcalm Center. We do have an access center that you can call 24/7. You can walk in during regular business hours, 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. But we're doing a lot of other things too. We'll be opening a wellness center, again, working on the whole person. We have a clubhouse that people go and work with to work on their social skills, and we do healthy eating classes. I could sit here all day and just tell you all the wonderful things that we have to offer, and so if you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us, because we're really excited to be able to work with people.
Fact or myth for you? There is little I can do to help with mental health discrimination. Little you can do to help. That is a myth, a big myth. You can do a lot, especially in your own group of friends and family. Avoid labeling people with words like crazy, wacko, loony, or by their diagnosis. Instead of saying someone is schizophrenic, say a person with schizophrenia. And treat people with mental illnesses with respect and dignity as you would anybody else. Respect the rights of people with mental illnesses and don't discriminate against them when it comes to housing, employment, or education. Like other people with disabilities, people with mental health needs are protected under federal and state laws.